Good news, I've just sent it to you, okay? Yeah? Perfect.
Here we go.
Here we go again, okay. So we will start with questions from Jeremy. No social media posting during the broadcast part of the press conference. Move on to the Daily's briefing, embargo till 10:30 tonight. Jeremy, do you want to get us started? Thank you.
Hi, Jose.
Hi.
Marco Silva has lost his job last night at Everton. Just wondering, have you spoken to him and what do you think of that news?
Not yet. Too early. Too early, I think. Sad days when you lose your job. And I think it's not the moment to speak with him. He knows that I like him. He knows that I am his friend. He knows that I am sad with the situation. But he also knows that tomorrow is another day. And keep going, keep fighting.
The speculation that he may be replaced by another Portuguese, Vitor Pereira. Are you a fan of his?
You are right, speculation. I don't know if it's true, if it's not true. Let's wait to see who comes next.
Jose, after Old Trafford, Spurs have conceded now 2 goals in every game. What are you going to do to sort out the defence?
Yeah, but we have to sort out the defense without losing what we have in attack. We concede 2 goals in each one of my 4 matches, but we score in all of them, and we could score even more than what we did. But you are right. We are conceding too much, and we are conceding some what I used to call cheap goals, and we have to try to stop it. The best way to do it is to work. We have no time to work at a time. After the United game, yesterday was a day of complete recovery, and today was the second recovery day, the day before the next game. So the conditions to work on the pitch are not the best. So less work, more analyze, more meetings, more talk. I'm not a meetings coach. I am a pitch coach. That's where I really like to coach is on the pitch, and I think is the way where you can accelerate all the process. So let's wait a little bit to next week, where we have, of course, Bayern match, but will be a match where I'm going to rest some players. So I will work with the players that are not going to be involved, and let's wait also for the week before the weekend. I think 22, 23 of December, because it's on the pitch where we can really improve things. But to analyze, to comment, to coach in the meeting room helps. So hopefully we get some positive things after some negative things we are doing.
Just at the moment, Spurs are Chelsea are 4th in the table, and this morning Chelsea had the transfer ban lifted, which means obviously they can spend in January. Is that bad news, do you think, for Spurs in the top 4?
I'm not worried with that. First of all, I'm not looking to Chelsea or to the distance we have to Chelsea. I think between us and Chelsea there are still 2 or 3 teams. I think Wolves, United, I don't know, 2 or 3 teams. So we cannot look so high and so far for this moment. So I'm not looking to them at all. The second situation for me is that it's not easy to get better players than they have. They have very good players. So I don't think even with the ban and even with an hypothetical multi-million budget to spend, I'm not very, very sure that they can get much better players than what they have.
Coming back to the defence, though, is it something you think you can improve, or do you think it's something that needs to be course, with new signings?
It's not the defense, it's the defensive process, which is a difficult thing. When we speak about defense, we speak normally about the keeper, about the center backs, the mistakes you do in the back. That's not the way I look to things. So I don't look to the individual, I look to the defensive process, and defensive process belongs to 11 players on the pitch. So is in our organization that we have to resolve our problems. Is not with one player, is not one signing, is a process.
You mentioned too about Christian Eriksen, who you've not started yet. There's more talk today about him possibly leaving again, Manchester United again. There's talk. What are your feelings about Christian Eriksen at the moment and his future at Spurs?
You know, my feelings are until I have anything official rather than hypothetical things and speculation, there is not much to comment. The only thing that is very, very objective is that the player in the end of the season is a free agent. That's the only thing that we know on a pragmatic point of view. A part of that, cannot comment.
Okay, George, you want
Hello, Jose. I
Aye.
was just wondering, have you had a chance to speak to Christian about his future yet?
Yes?
Can I ask what he said?
No?
Okay, does he want to stay?
I'm not going to answer you. I think that's him that has to tell you. Of course I had a conversation with him. Of course I have to defend the best interests of my club. My club is more important than my players. And my players are more important than me. But the club is more important than any one of us. So that's the way I think. Is he a fantastic player? He is. But the situation is that I have to think first in the club interests. But I'm not going to tell you. If Christian wants to do it by the personal point of view, what we spoke, I am perfectly fine with it. I have absolutely nothing to hide. I'm just not sharing with you for a question of respect to the player.
You mentioned the defence. How much do your defence have to be on it tomorrow with the threat of Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes?
It's not my defense. It's my defensive process. It's my defensive process. So it's not about my defenders. It's about our defensive process. We know the way they play. We know how dangerous they can be. We know where they are dangerous. We know everything about them, unless they come with some surprise out of the context that has been their context since they arrive in the Premier League. There are not surprises, but it's difficult to play against them. I know that it's difficult to play against them, and we have to know. But by the defensive point of view, we have to be good collectively, because this is not going to be a fight between two strikers and two centre-backs. Is team.
On Wednesday night, Tottenham weren't at their best. Do you think the players will have a reaction and show a lot more intensity tomorrow?
I hope so. That's what we think. I told one of the things I told to the players was that I saw a sad dressing room, a sad buzz, a sad plane, and that's not what I like after a defeat. I think after a defeat you cannot be sad. You have to be more than that. I don't know in English how to find a word for that, but you have to be like raging or enraging or raging, you know. You have to be angry, not sad, because to be sad is not going to resolve your problems. You need that reaction, you need that mentality. Unfortunately, we cannot work on the pitch. Again, I think the training session yesterday was phenomenal, but was a training session with the players that didn't play against United. So it's difficult. We need time to work. We don't have time to work. I cannot stop the league now and say, okay, 1 month of pre-season, and I'm going to work with these guys. I take them to Dubai for a month, and we are going to work for a month. We cannot do it. We have to play. So we have to resolve our problems step by step. But it's obvious that we have problems. That's no doubts. But we have players with quality, great human dressing room. I like the guys very, very much. But we need to change that feeling of feeling sorry about our mistakes and feeling sad with our bad results. We need to be more than that.
So do you think it will be January before you can really have a mark of this Jose Mourinho team? Do you think that's when it will start showing?
I think step by step. But since the moment I arrived, it's my team. For good and for bad, for the good things, for the bad things, it's my team. It's my responsibility. You will listen from me that the problems are coming from the past and these kind of things. No, not at all. It's my team since day one. It's my team when we won 3 matches. It's my team when we lost the last one.
And sorry, one away from football. I know you've been to see Anthony Joshua fight before. I just wondered if you think he'll get his title back tomorrow night, if you'll be watching it.
Is the only bad thing of me getting the job at Tottenham is that I'm not going to be there because I was invited by the Prince to be there, but I prefer to be in the match against Burnley.
Do you think Anthony will win?
I'm not an expert. I just love the sport, and I like Anthony very, very much because he's a great kid. I hope he wins, but in sport you can lose. So let's see.
Can go to Jack.
Jose, I remember a few years ago you told us that your dream number 10 was a player who would play as a 9.5 with the ball and an 8.5 without the ball.
You have good memory, man.
You mentioned Deco and Schneider to us. How do you see Dele's role in the team? Is that the role you see for him?
That's what he's doing. But in the defensive process, we have to get a better dynamic through everybody. And he has to work, of course, with the 2 midfield players and with the wingers closing well the spaces and to try to be more compact and to protect better our defensive line. Because, again, I just can't point my finger and say, is this centre back or is this left back? Or I don't like to do that at all. So we need to improve our defensive process and number 10 that is an 8 in the defensive process. You understand that the 8.5 is also very important for that. But again, we need to do that without losing the 9.5 because that guy is the guy that scores goals and he has to keep scoring goals. So I'm really, really happy. And great attitude and great motivation, and I think he underperformed for too long, and I think now he's really, really committed of performing at the top level for the most possible time.
He's improved so much since you've been in charge here. How much do you think that's to do with the job that you've given him, and how much is to do with psychology?
I think everything is globality, but again, it's more about him than about me. I think it's about him, I think it's the natural frustration of a fantastic player that knows that he was underperforming, and that I always say that, of course, you need sometimes what I call external sources of motivation, but if you are waiting for the external sources, it's not enough. Must be something that belongs to yourself. And I think now he's in this kind of dynamic where he's doing things by himself. He doesn't need me to be on his here every day. He's working well, he's playing well. I'm really happy.
Okay, finish with Ali and then Dan. Ali.
Jose, you've clearly enjoyed the first couple of weeks at Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah.
Now, so, is there anything you found difficult in those first weeks, or different, maybe very different to what you've seen in the past?
Okay.
As a manager.
So you're saying you
I don't
enjoyed 2
understand.
weeks. Found anything different here to other experiences at other
or
clubs?
difficult challenges, things like that.
No, first of all, it was the first time that I was for so long without working, because previously was just a period between Chelsea and United or Chelsea and Inter, 4 months, something like that. This was almost a year, so it was different for me. But I have to admit that the club, by the structural point of view, the club is fantastic. So in some other clubs, I had to arrive and I had to, in some aspects, try to make things from zero and even I had to do the construction, the build-up of some departments that were inexistent or working really, really bad. And in here, I found areas where I don't need even to touch, and the other ones where I felt that I need to touch to put people working the way I like, but not because people was not working or was not working well. So I think by the structural point of view, the club is fantastic, really, really fantastic.
Can I just ask you also, Giovanni Lo Celso, I think it's the Real Betis vice president has come out and said that Tottenham can buy him in January, make his deal permanent, if it's a cheaper price. Is that something you'll be recommending to the club, or do you need more time to study him closer?
No, I don't. Again, I'm doing my work now to try to improve the results and to try to get the best out of the players. And of course, Giovanni is in Europe for a few years, but France with PSG and then Spain is a complete different football world than it is in England. There are so many experienced players that they arrive in England and the click for them is not automatic. So a young guy like Giovanni also needs his time to adapt to Premier League. And you could see, even with Mauricio, Argentinian man like him, easy communication, surrounded by some boys that speaks French, he speaks English. So even being quiet, surrounded by support, is not like he arrives here and he explodes immediately. But we know the good player he is, and give him time to develop. We think he's going to be a good player for us.
Okay, last one from Dan, then we'll move to the daily papers. Dan.
Jose, what role do you see for Moussa Sissoko? Because you appear to play him further forward against Bournemouth.
Yeah.
And do you see him and Harry Winks as a partnership in midfield going forward?
One of the good things is that we can consider him multifunctional and he can play in various positions. But honestly, I don't think he's a midfield player. The midfield player that plays on the called position number 6, or the midfield player that plays on, let's say, a double 6, I don't think Moussa is. But he played with me. Even the last match, he played with me in that position, because sometimes the needs of the team are more important than the player. But I think that the best positions for Moussa is when a team plays with a positional midfielder and he has the freedom to go, or when he plays from the right, like he did against Bournemouth, with Serge coming more on the wide side, on the channel, and him being more central. But I don't think he's a positional midfield player. He did play with Mauricio, he did play with me, and for sure, with our needs, he will play again there, and he can, and he's not obviously a bad player, but I don't think he's an organizer of the game. I don't think he's the one that has the control of the game.
So what made you put him there against Man United?
Because I knew that Ndombele was not in the best conditions. I decided that Skip no for a game of that dimension immediately. Eric Dyer was one of the few players that was coming with 3 matches in a row, and I also felt that Lucas could, playing in that forward position, could create problems to United. So a combination of things. But you ask me which position I think is the best position for him, and I think he's not one of the double midfield players.
Right, guys, if the camera's off now, thank you.